Hello, Oracles. Well, Tesla just dropped their production and delivery numbers for Q2, and they came right in line with expectations. Tesla produced 258,580 vehicles, and they delivered 254,695 vehicles. So now when you're looking at analyst expectations, there are the analysts who updated their expectations, which were around 256,000 vehicles delivered, and then there were the analysts who did not, and if you put all those together, it's around 267,000 vehicles. So we'll see how the market plays this out on Tuesday. Fact set is usually what everybody goes off of, and unfortunately that's the one that's 267,000 vehicles. So Tesla came in with 254,695 vehicles for Q2. Gary Black was pretty darn close. He said 254,000, so awesome job, Gary. I was in at 252,000, so right around the same ballpark. Now, production, they had 258,000 vehicles produced, so now they have about a 4,000 vehicle inventory buffer going into Q3. Now, they did say that June was the highest vehicle production month in Tesla's history. We kind of expected this. A lot of the news we had coming out of Shanghai was pushing us in that direction, and as long as Fremont, just kind of stayed their course, that's kind of where we were heading. So we should see this trend continue going forward. Yes, we obviously know we had the issues with Shanghai being shut down in Q2, so as long as we don't have any major issues like that going forward, we should be fine. So we know that Shanghai is shut down, at least from what it sounds like, partially, if not totally, for July 1st through the 4th as they retool to move forward, because they're expanding from 17,000 vehicles per week to 22,000 vehicles per week. So that's going to be a significant bump, and that'll be great to see for Q3 as we start moving in that direction. So all in all, I think this is a good number to see. So now going back to some questions we had before with, pushing so hard coming out of Austin, Elon is now back on Twitter. So it looks like he's over talking with the Pope and hanging out with him over there. So I don't know if maybe the last week of the quarter, Elon was really focusing hard on getting as many deliveries out as possible and then decided to go on vacation yesterday. So that's my guess. I don't know if we will actually find out. I have a feeling Elon will disclose that information. Some people still think that he was off of Twitter for Twitter purposes. Again, I don't know. But seeing the hard push that they all put in with an all hands on deck finish to the quarter, that tells me that they really truly were struggling. Because I know one of the questions were, are they doing this to pull the rabbit out of the hat, or are they doing this just to be able to hit what estimates were going to be? Sounds like the answer to that question was they were doing this because they were struggling to try and hit estimates. So again, I don't think they were trying to hit specifically estimates, but just pumping out as many vehicles as they possibly could. And so we got the number that was right in line with most people's estimates. And now looking forward, Elon had already alluded to Q3 and Q4 being exponential ramps for the entire company. And we already see this in the works. Tesla did just get confirmed for the permits for Austin and an expansion of 500,000 square feet, which is going to be 2 floors. So that's an enormous piece added on to Austin as it is. And then we know Barlin is bumping up. We should hopefully get confirmation about whether they're actually going to a third shift or not come July 4th. And then also whether they're going to be doing production on Saturdays, because currently right now it's 2 shifts, 5 days a week. So if they do end up pushing that up to 3 shifts and 6 days a week, that's going to be significant growth added on. Because right now Barlin is producing 1,000 vehicles per week. Austin, we really don't have a lot of information coming out of there. Hearing the rumors about 2,000 to 5,000 vehicles per week when it comes to production and deliveries, it did not sound realistic. It definitely didn't sound sustainable if that was the case. We talked about potentially having some vehicles ready and just popping batteries in for deliveries. So we don't have breakdowns by the factories. We should be getting the Shanghai numbers specifically this week. So that can at least help us break down a little bit, because before we can at least break down the difference between Shanghai and Fremont. Now when we have 4 factories, we can kind of figure out what Fremont is based upon history. So Barlin and Austin are going to kind of be up in the air. We know Berlin's 1,000 per week. So I guess mathematically we can get a ballpark as to where Austin is. So hopefully in the next week we'll get some more information about Shanghai, which can then help us break down at least an estimate as to where Austin is. As now Austin, with the 2170 tooling going on over there, that started probably 2 to 3 weeks ago. So looking at that, then ramping up further going into Q3 should really help this exponential ramp as well. So again, looking forward, June was the highest production month in Tesla's history. I have no doubt that July, August, September, and the foreseeable future, we will see that same thing happen every single month as long as we can see. Because after this, we're going to have expansions coming on all 3 factories except for Fremont. So we'll have Austin, Berlin, and Shanghai all having expansions within the next 18 months to 2 years, actually getting themselves to ramp. And then who knows what other factories they're going to have announced, whether it's going to be Indonesia, which sounds like, one of the top places that they're looking right now, maybe another one in North America also. We have a lot of growth ahead of us, very amazing times. So glad to see that they at least hit estimates in Q2. Very rough quarter. I'm going to update all of my numbers when it comes down to EPS as far as what we can expect for Q2 earnings. But as I had said before, I think these numbers that we got today are what are going to affect the numbers in the stock price on Tuesday, because I'm literally going to take the production and delivery numbers, pop those numbers into my valuation model, and then just multiply those delivery numbers by what the average vehicle selling price is, which for me, I think is probably around $53,000 to $54,000. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think is the average selling price for the vehicles in Q2, because we had about 16,000 Model S and X that were delivered during Q2, and 242,000 3 and Y. And now, percentage-wise, there were more Model S and X delivered in Q2 than there were in Q1. Q2, there's about 6% of the deliveries were going to be Model S and X, and in Q1 it was just under 5%. So that may push the average selling price a little bit higher. And then of course we know that, a lot of these deliveries were prices that they had set about 6 months ago. So these are still continuing to grow and grow because Tesla has been going up on their prices since then. Plus, we had a lot more FSD that they were taking first. They were prioritizing the FSD vehicles. And then the last couple of weeks of the quarter, they also had the autopilot for $6,000 as an add-on. So we'll see how these numbers play into the Q2 earnings. It's going to be really difficult to try and figure out the take rate for the autopilot, but at least we can figure out based on the S and X what the average vehicle selling price might be. And I think maybe because of the percentages might be a little bit higher than the 53 to 54,000 that I'm thinking. I've got to do some math, but I will let you guys know later on that. And they did announce that they're going to have Q2 earnings on July 20th, so that is on my calendar, so I will be leaving work early to be able to check that out to make sure I go over all the numbers before presenting it to you guys. And then we'll find out what their forecast is. And so, we've seen for the last 2 years, they just keep on reiterating 50% year-over-year growth. So let's see if they continue with the 50%, if they change it, if maybe they're a little more specific. I have a feeling they're probably just going to stick with 50% year-over-year growth. They are still on pace to be able to get to that point this year, because for the first half, they have delivered 565,000 vehicles. So they're already more than halfway to where they were last year. So in order for them to be able to get to 50% year-over-year growth, they will need to deliver another 839,000 vehicles for the second half in order to meet that 1.4 million vehicle deliveries for 50% year-over-year growth for 2022 over 2021. And based off of my current production chart, I have them delivering about 875,000 vehicles for the second half of this year. So being able to get to the 50% year-over-year growth based on my projections should not be an issue. I will be updating those numbers soon. As soon as we get the Shanghai information, I'll be doctoring that up a little bit. But I have a feeling they might actually hit 900,000 for the second half, barring any massive lockdowns like we had in Shanghai again. And then thinking about it, if Tesla can really exponentially grow and ramp themselves like Elon says, I'm wondering, and let me know in the comments if you think this is going to happen, if they are going to be able to produce and deliver more vehicles in the second half of this year than they produced and delivered for all of last year. That would be 936,000 vehicles. I think it's possible, and I think with the exponential growth, again, barring any major issues with lockdowns, I think it's totally possible. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So there we have it, Q2 delivery and production numbers. 254,000 vehicles delivered, 258,000 vehicles produced, 4,000 extra vehicles going into inventory, which I have no doubt they will be using towards the end of the year to deliver because Well, they're literally delivering every vehicle that they are making, no questions asked, because their demand is so darn high. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you guys feel about these production and delivery numbers? How do you feel about the company going forward? And what do you think this is going to do for Tuesday's stock price and what we're going to see for Q2 earnings? Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is in the description down below. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, I do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. And thank you so much to all of the patrons that I currently have. Thank you all so much. Have a great one.